So I'm back with part 2 of my eating habits and healthy body image video. This part of the video is going to be a little bit more in depth about what I've learned and how I have created healthier habits and where I am now. So this part of the video is where I think it gets really juicy and I get a little bit more excited about sharing the progress that I've made. I think as well it's quite important that we don't compare the stages of our journey with the stages of somebody else's journey. So I've found that quite difficult in the last few years, especially with this big surge of talk on social media about disordered eating or eating disorders, that everyone's, you know, you should eat carbs and nobody should be restricting any food type. You should be able to go out of the weekend, or you should on a Wednesday be able to eat a pizza. That's all very well to say, and a lot of that is true, but I feel like then you start to self-criticize yourself again in saying, I feel now bad about myself that I'm not as strong as that person, or I'm not where they are. That would be like me comparing my yoga practice to somebody who has been practicing for 20 years, 3 hours a day, and me being angry that my splits aren't the same as somebody else's splits. It's just there's no comparison, and you're on different journeys, you've experienced different struggles, and I think you have to be really careful about social media and how you use it. It's a platform that people only show the best parts. I swear to God, like if people thought my life was what it was on social media, it's just not. Like, I choose to share when I'm happy, and I don't believe in sharing too much of when I'm sad, because I don't want to trigger other people being sad. I'd rather share positivity, but it is important to be honest and share that I do struggle. And I would hate for anyone to look at posts on my page or other people's pages and believe that these people find it easy. So unfortunately, online on social media or on people's YouTube videos or whatever it is, people a lot of the time aren't actually completely honest, and I don't think that's out of a malicious place or a place that they are trying purposely to harm others. But for example, if I look back on, let's say, a time where I was really lean and I was super fit, probably not at my healthiest physically or mentally, I was putting out posts saying that I was so happy, that these were the things that I did to lose weight and this is what I do. And I've also looked at, there are obviously a lot of fitness people that I have followed over the years, and let's say maybe 2 years ago, they would have also been in a similar place where they're offering advice and saying, this is what I do, this is what works for me, this is what makes me happy. And then a year or two later, they are referencing those posts and saying, oh my God, like I was not happy at that time, and now I have found true balance. Now, maybe they have found true balance, but it's such a dangerous thing to be saying that that was me then, and now I can look back at that and say that I was unhealthy, whereas now I'm in the right mindset and qualified enough to say that I now am really healthy. What's not to say that in another year from now they'll say, oh, actually a year ago I was still not happy and I was still harming my body physically, mentally, whatever it was. So it's just, the point I'm trying to make is that even though these people are trying to help and they're trying to be role models, a lot of them just firstly aren't qualified, and secondly are still struggling themselves and just don't really know it. There are definitely times where I am constantly trying to find that balance that suits me, and That's why this video, I am not sharing, you know, what I'm doing at the moment food wise or what works for me, because it'll be completely different for you. And what's not to say that in a few months from now I'll be in a completely different space mentally, and I could look back at now and say I was really healthy then or I wasn't. So that's another point that I wanted to make. Being healthy is about finding a balance for you. So a certain balance or lifestyle for me might be restrictive for you, or what you do might be overindulgent for me. So it's really different for all of us. It's going to look really different, and that's why it's really important to find something that is sustainable and enjoyable and that promotes overall health mentally and physically for you, which again will look different for you and for me and for everybody else. So I think that also the power of our thoughts is something that might be a little bit overlooked. I think yoga has taught me the power of my thoughts and the language that I use. We tend to label things good or bad, and there's very little room for grey or middle ground. In my yoga practice, I'm very aware now that there are certain poses that I will label as being me being good at or me being bad at. It's almost a rejection of where I am in my yoga practice, and I can't actually make progress unless I accept where I am. We often create this false sense of truth that we find comfort in. For example, people will tell themselves certain foods don't agree with me. A lot of the time it is a mental thing that you find comfort in labeling something and having the control. I did that for a really long time with carbohydrates, and I've now learned to not label carbohydrates as bad or good, but know that there are certain times that an excess of carbohydrates will make me feel tired and sleepy, and there's maybe a better time to eat that throughout my day or throughout my week. And I'm just using carbohydrates as an example. But I think if you are really negative in your thought process about certain things, it's pretty impossible to eat intuitively because you have all these blockages against certain food or against certain diets. Again, I think it's really important to be able to eat intuitively, to be in a really happy place. So when I was binging, I thought I was eating intuitively and just eating to be happy, but actually I wasn't happy, so that's why I was eating so much in order to be happy. Another really big thing that has been a massive part of my journey is, for so long I didn't even acknowledge the possibility that there was a certain way my body was meant to be. I always thought that you could make your body whatever it is you wanted to, and to a certain degree that is true, that perhaps you could make your body a certain body percentage of fat or whatever it is, or certain muscle mass if you worked hard enough. But to what end would you be able to firstly obtain it and secondly sustain it? Is it worth it? I've read a lot about like people who are really tall and lean and people who are petite and curvy. There's a certain point where there's certain body images that are out of your grasp, and even though that is something that initially you might be disappointed by, I certainly was, that it is actually in the end a massive relief to know that you have a body that you're stuck with. And in accepting that actually is such a good feeling, that you can start to love yourself when you accept your body shape, your height, the size of your legs in comparison to the size of your bum or whatever it is. I have definitely, and I'm sure you've read online a lot about that, extra few pounds that you might have on your hips or your bum or your thighs, they are your happiness. There has to be, they are your balance, where you're able to find your routine that works for you, find your balance that works for you. And then sometimes when you're happy, stressed, sad, you're able to just relax and eat what you want when you want. I know that that is easier said than done, and there are definitely days where I'm more able to accept how I look. There are definitely days where I am in full acceptance of, this is the way my body is. I have those bingo wings that I will never really get rid of. And then there are days where I hate it and I restrict myself and I watch myself spiral into that self-loathing, non-accepting place where I have been so familiar with over the last 10 years. And I think, again, being so mindful and being able to step back and watch those thought processes has helped me to take myself out of that place and to be able to come to that place of loving myself and accepting myself for where I am, how I look, how I feel, and remind myself that it's so much more important to feel happy than to look happy, because there are certain times where I look back and I think I looked happy, but really I wasn't. So there are a few things that, because of my therapy and because of where I am in my journey, there are a few things that I have come to accept, and on my really good days, I'm able to not associate anything negative with them. There are phrases, some of the phrases or some of the mantras I used to think were quite a negative thing, probably influenced by social media, and some things that I wanted to believe but couldn't. So I'm just going to go through the list of things that I have been able to tell myself and have been able to accept and to connect with a place where I feel like the best version of myself. So first on the list is that I have a certain body image that I am comfortable with, that I feel confident and strong in. Now, previously that might have been something that I thought you should never associate your happiness with your body image. Now, to a degree that is true, but there is a body image and a certain look that I am comfortable with, that I feel happy with. And again, it's just assessing or acknowledging over the years when I felt really happy, or when I felt that I wasn't obsessed with how I looked. And actually the body image that I am comfortable in is reflected in balance and is reflected in the middle ground and that gray area that I talked about. It's not restrictive and it's not binging. The body image that is as a result of balance is actually where I feel strongest and most confident. So that is actually not a negative thing, whereas before I might have thought that, oh, because I'm comfortable in how I look at the moment, that must mean I'm restricting, when actually that again is probably influenced by external journeys or other people's perception of what they think balance is. Second point is that I love food, and that there are some times that I eat a lot of food to make myself feel satisfied and saturated, and that is perfectly okay. Number 3 is that during the week, or when I am focused on work, when I am goal orientated or needing energy to be the best version of myself at work, there are certain foods that I stay away from in order to cultivate that energy. And that's not being restrictive, that is being mindful and connecting with what I need to give myself in order to be the version of myself that I need on that specific day, or let's say Monday to Friday. Again, like I said, being human means that when I am tired, sad, happy, all of these emotions that we feel day to day, week to week, I find comfort in food, and that doesn't make me weak, out of control, ugly, any of those things. It makes me human. And finally, you can learn so much about your instinct to eat or to overindulge. Now I have learned that even though sometimes it's simply a Friday night and we're staying in and we want a pizza, or sometimes I get a need for sugar or overindulgent food or excesses of food, and I actually take a moment to notice or acknowledge my day or my week and see if there is any source to that need. It's become this relationship between my thoughts and my body that I am so much more aware of now, that my body is actually so sensitive to my mental state and to my happiness. For example, my period went for perhaps a year after my last breakup, and that was due to stress and due to severe unhappiness. So again, it's just created this sense of connection to myself, and I see that as a positive, that sometimes my need for food is a wake-up call or an alert for me to become more aware of how I manage to get through the week, how I manage to deal with stressful situations. And instead of resorting to that quick fix, I just become a little bit kinder to myself and put in place the things that I need for long-term happiness rather than short-term happiness. So it's quite hard to put in a video 10 years of my struggle to find balance and what I have learned. I hope that I have outlined some of the things that have helped me or some of the things that I have learned. Again, I'm still learning how to articulate these things, and again, I'm not a qualified doctor or a psychologist or a life coach. So really, I'm just trying to speak from experience and be completely honest. I hope that you could even find comfort in relating to what I'm saying, or to understanding or feeling understood. That's kind of why I'm doing these videos, that I found it really hard with social media to not compare my journey to others. What I would really advise is that if you are struggling in any way with your attitude to food or eating, I would really go and get some help. This video, of course, will make you feel perhaps a little bit better about your struggle, but perhaps it's not going to change your entire attitude to food. I highly doubt it, actually. But for me, I wanted to stress how helpful seeing someone and being able to have somebody tell you to be kind to yourself, have somebody tell you that they believe that this won't be forever, that you're not going to have a professional tell you that it doesn't have to be this way forever, that you can learn how to be happy with your body, be happy in yourself, and to not resort to food for happiness. If you feel like there's things that I haven't touched on here in the video that you would like me to delve a little bit deeper into, I'm so happy to do that. And since that I'm not at the end of my journey to finding complete balance, and since I still have days where I restrict or indulge, I feel like perhaps in the future I'll do another one of these videos, because I'm still doing my therapy and still doing my best to not struggle. So I'm sure I'll be talking to you again soon about this, and I really hope that this helped you in some way, and that you have perhaps a newfound strength or awareness that you might need to talk to somebody about it and your struggles. So have a good day, and I'll be here chatting to you again really soon, I hope.